God!
We are talking It Kills, which is also known as Camp Blood 7, directed by Mark Polinia, and he has done a whole bunch of kind of B-movie horror movies. I think he did Land Shark, Franken Shark, a few other ones. So here we have the 7th instalment of the Camp Blood extremely low budget slasher franchise. Now, cards on the table, I've not seen a Camp Blood movie ever. So this is actually my first one. So this review, take it as someone who is new to this kind of franchise. I was aware of it, but I've never actually seen a film from it. Now I've got the feeling they've kind of made it called It Kills, obviously to kind of like tie in with the It film that was released this year. So in case you are unaware, it essentially focuses on this kind of like this camp, and we have this group of you know, young people going away for a kind of a break, on fall break I think it is. And there's this legend involving this kind of killer clown that ultimately stalks this kind of camp, like killing anyone that kind of goes there. Along this way, our characters basically pick up a hitchhiker who's sort of searching for his missing wife, which I'm assuming was killed in a kind of a previous film, and they end up getting stranded there. And of course, this killer clown is on the loose. So, what do we think of It Kills? Let me ask you this question, my friends: do you like realism? If the answer is yes, then you don't want to watch this film, because this film is far from anything that resembles a real life physics and things like that. So, I mean, even in our first kills, we have this kind of couple on this boat, quite away from shore, and they kind of, one of them sees the clown at the shore point, and then a couple of minutes later, somehow he comes, you know, he's appeared on the boat. With not being wet at all. No one's seen or heard him kind of approach, and he manages to kill someone in the water with a knife. It's just ridiculous. I mean, that's the kind of thing. This guy seems to just magically appear, never seems to get any water or blood or anything over him, just kind of like teleports around this place, and yeah, doesn't appear to eat or anything like that. The sequel is very concerned with setting up its next one as well. There's a few kind of lines of dialogue thinking, oh well, okay, this is clearly setting something else up for the end. Yes, I thought that's where it was going to go, and of course it does. So despite the fact that this movie is handled with such kind of just like no regard for kind of realism or kind of therefore suspense, what are the kills like? Pretty bloody, I will say, but the effects are very, very cheap. And they're quite fun, I've got to say. Despite the fact that it was very, very cheap and clearly, obviously, not realistic, therefore not scary, it was still a little fun, I've got to say. It did have an element of fun there. The acting is completely horrible. Really kind of like stupid kind of like reactions of people that are just, I mean, it looks like a bunch of friends have made this film without any acting experience. And then it will annoy you that this movie, considering this is the 7th in the franchise, there's still all these tropes, like, you know, that the killer goes down and no one thinks to try and finish him off, or no one thinks to at least move the weapon away from him, stuff like that, that will just kind of annoy you, I think, if it's the 7th in the franchise, maybe. I'm not a big slasher fan, I will say that. You know, I'll kind of appreciate, you know, Friday the 13th or Halloween and what have you, but slashers aren't really my thing. But obviously I can still appreciate when a film is well made and tells a good story and stuff. This one is just a very, very cheap, run-of-the-mill slasher film. Now, I don't know how it compares to the previous films in the franchise. But this one, it's so cheap, it's just so kind of like cheesy and kind of like schlocky. It does have an element of fun, I will say that, but ultimately it makes for a very kind of like, it offers nothing new, and what you are seeing is an extremely kind of like low-rent production sort of value. So ultimately it's pretty kind of only for fans of this series, I would say. So I'll give it a 4 out of 10. Have you seen it? What did you think of it? Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to seeing you next time. Bye for now.